Hey there, biomeds, welcome to my channel once again. I'm Dr. Gertrude Nontra, and on this channel I give you career tips and insights for students in the biomedical and health sciences. You're welcome. All right, so in today's video I'm talking specifically about 3 things to consider if you are thinking about going to get a biomedical PhD. I have a biomedical PhD. I'm very happy to have a biomedical PhD, but I do know that it's not for everyone. And so maybe you're at a crossroads and you're really thinking which path you should choose. If that's you, then this is the right video for you, because I'm going to give you 3 things that I want you to really think about before you decide to get into a biomedical PhD program. By biomedical, I mean anything that would fall under the biomedical sciences. So the program may be microbiology and immunology, may be molecular biology, it may be infectious diseases, whatever. Usually there are different names. Some programs just call it biomedical degree, but then there are other names that this go by. These all fall under that, okay? So the first thing I really want you to consider before you get into a biomedical PhD is, do you like research? Do you like research? Because you're going to do a lot of research when you get into a biomedical PhD. So if you are comfortable with reading papers and synthesizing them, coming up with ideas, thinking about problems, asking questions based on your observations, experimentation and waiting for those experiments to work. Sometimes you'll have a lot of failures. If you don't mind that, right, then I think that a biomedical PhD may be for you. If you do not enjoy these activities, then I don't recommend a biomedical PhD for you, because as a biomedical PhD, you will be involved in a lot of research. So it's important for you to like it. It's important for you to realize that, yeah, I'll be doing a lot of that and I need to get used to that. Now, in the beginning, you may feel awkward and it may be a little difficult, but once you get into a flow, okay, of reading papers, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, reading papers, going on PubMed, going on Google Scholar to find papers to read and synthesize and come up with ideas is hard. It's not really easy, okay? It's not that simple. So, you may find it difficult at first, but that's how it is for everybody. It's usually hard at first and then it gets easier as you go along. The second thing to think about is, are you willing to spend 5 to 7, sometimes 8 years doing that research? All right, so when you get into a biomedical PhD program, usually you will have a project and you will carry that project through to the end of your PhD. Sometimes people have 2 mini projects going on. They may have the main project and then maybe a side project, and sometimes a side project ends up becoming the main project, because the thing with research is that because these are uncharted waters, because this is something that nobody has ever studied, right, there's no guarantee that the question you have or the hypothesis you have is going to end up anywhere. So sometimes you may find that the question that seems so brilliant, well, it's not going anywhere, you're not really getting any results, and maybe the side project is working. So you may have a main project and a side project. You may be helping other colleagues in the lab with their projects. Are you willing to do that for the next 5 to 7 years? If you're not willing to spend that much time to do that, then you may want to think about doing something else. But I will say that if you're thinking about doing a biomedical PhD, then I'm thinking that you're also thinking about other paths. Maybe you're thinking about medical school or dental school or pharmacy school. All of these paths still take a lot of time. So the time is going to pass anyway. So if you find that biomedical PhD is a fit for you, then go for that instead of trying to save yourself time, or find the shortest path possible. If you find it's for you, then don't worry about the time. But I do want you to realize that when you look at a PhD, you are looking at about 5 to 7, sometimes 8 years in a program before you're done. The third thing I want you to think about are the job prospects. What does the job outlook look like? So when I first got started with my PhD, I remember a lot of people used to tell me, okay, Gertrude, you know when you're done, the only thing you can do with a PhD is go teach at a university, right? And I am an adjunct faculty, but I'm here to tell you that teaching or being faculty at a college is not the only pathway you can pursue after a biomedical PhD. In fact, I did this video right here. If you check this link right here, I did that video where I talked about what you can do with your PhD. I highly recommend that you watch that after this video, because there is a lot that you can do with your PhD beyond teaching at a university. Even though that seems to be the most commonly traveled path, it's not the only path. You could work in industry as a medical science liaison, as a field application scientist, as a scientist in a lab. You don't necessarily have to teach if that's not a path you want to pursue. So don't think that that's the only path that you can go on. That's not the only path you can go on. But I really do want you to think about your job prospects and what you see yourself doing long term. The wonderful thing too is that, you know, we are living in an era where you can try things, and so don't also feel like you have to keep yourself in one little box. Oh, I'm good at teaching, so that's all I'm gonna do. Try different things and try to find your groove. Once you find your groove, then you stay there for the long term. And in thinking about what the job prospects look like, I also want you to think about, do I really need a PhD for this type of job? Because there are certain jobs even within industry and academia that don't necessarily require you to have a PhD, and you can have a very successful career. There are people that have a master's degree, people that sometimes have a bachelor's, although I see fewer and fewer of those, okay, in the sciences, who are doing very well, okay, in a scientific career. And so it's possible for you to not even have a PhD and still do really well. So those are all things to consider. Like, do I really need this PhD to pursue this path, or will a master's degree suffice? Or, you know, when I'm done with a PhD, what do I really want to do with my life? And in those instances, what I would say is that whilst you are in graduate school, once you get into graduate school, even before that, you know, when you watch that video that I talked about, there are different job types. I highly recommend that you get on LinkedIn. And once you get on LinkedIn, connect with some of these individuals and have informational interviews with them. Like, talk with people. What does your job look like? This is one of the reasons I started this channel, and I invite you to reach out to me on LinkedIn. All right, so this is my LinkedIn link right here. You can join me there. And find out, ask people questions. What does your job look like? What do you do on a typical day? Can I shadow you? Can I come with you for half a day and see what you do, to get an idea of what each of these professions provide? Also, there are a lot of graduate student associations. Another organization is the American Women in Science. I know in San Diego, where I live currently, there is a branch of that. And getting involved in organizations like that can also be really eye-opening, because usually they'll have talks, they'll have people, and you can get connected that way. So networking is also going to be huge when it comes to that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and go ahead and check out these other videos for more information on thriving as a student in the biomedical sciences.